It's rugged, it's packed with new features, and it is really expensive. So is it worth the $800? Stay tuned to the end of the video for the answer. Hey, what's up everyone? I've used the Apple Watch Ultra for the past week for just about everything that your typical software engineer could use it for. From typing away on my computer to hitting the gym and taking walks in the park, I've done it all, and here's my take. Apple designed this watch for adventurers and explorers, but who is to say that your average person can't use it? The watch has brand new features that everyone can take advantage of, and in this video, we'll cover the top 7 things that make this watch great. I'll quickly mention that Apple introduced a new depth gauge and crash detection feature. However, I won't be covering those in this review since I have not been able to test those out. Also, for a full ASMR unboxing, click up here. First up is the new rugged design. The Ultra is now 49 millimeters, and yes, this watch is huge on the wrist. If I compare it to my previous 44 millimeter Series 4 and 42 millimeter mechanical watch, this thing stands out. It's enclosed in a titanium case that doesn't feel too heavy and sports this protruded display to help protect the sapphire crystal against accidental bumps. It also has an additional protrusion to protect the digital crown. It kind of reminds me of a Panerai Luminor, which has a similar protective feature. I have to say this watch does look nice, and it took a few days to get used to. Initially, I thought the watch was too big and I would end up returning it. However, after a week, the design has grown on me and my Series 4 suddenly seems too small. Speaking of which, let's talk about the display. Yes, this display is also huge. It's a mini computer on the wrist. Text is much larger and menu items don't look crammed. It's easy to see complications and read notifications without bringing the watch close to your face. The display is also twice as bright, going up to 200 nits, which allows for easy reading in direct sunlight. Apple also added this cool night mode feature to their Wayfinder watch face. To set it up, simply turn the dial up until you see the transition. The red color helps you preserve your night vision. I recently went out to Utah for an astrophotography trip, and you typically have to use a red light lamp in order to help preserve your night vision. And this feature would have been great during that trip. So overall, the display is great. So those are 3 of the features so far, but stay tuned until the end and I'll tell you whether or not it's worth the $800. So next up is the new bands. And yes, the old bands fit. Apple announced 3 new band types: the Alpine Loop, Trail Loop, the Ocean bands, each aimed at respective users. I got mine with the green Alpine Loop since I already have a white Nike Sport Band and figured I could swap between the 2. I've been using the Sport Band primarily on the watch and have only used the Alpine Loop a few times. It is comfortable, however, I'm just worried about moisture since I tend to hit the gym a lot, and the Sport Loop provides enough breathability for it. The Alpine Loop is a bit tough to get on and adjust it properly. If I had another choice, I would probably have gone with the Trail Loop instead, since it could be positioned on the wrist better. The bands are pricey, coming in at $100, so you may be better off with some cheaper alternatives. Now, onto battery. Is it that much better? Well, the watch is much larger, meaning the battery is also bigger. Apple advertises 36 hours of battery life, and I would say it's surpassed their estimate. I used the watch for 2 days straight and still had 25% battery left by the end of the 2nd day. I did have to charge it in order to get sleep tracking in. I tracked several walks over the course of the 2 days, tested a few features like the action button and compass, tracked my gym workouts, slept with the watch, and had the always on display enabled the entire time. So overall, the battery life is much better than my Series 4, which would barely make it to the end of the day. However, you'll still need to charge it multiple times per week, so maybe a different watch is better at this. Apple is advertising a 60-hour battery life with a low power setting coming this fall. So subscribe if you'd like to see that test. Now, imagine you went on a hike and got lost in the middle of nowhere. Well, the Apple Watch Ultra has you covered. It comes with an 86 decibel Siren to help you attract help, and I can see this being useful if you get lost during a hike. However, I can't really see the average person using it unless they want to just annoy their neighbors. I do have a test that you can see right up here. Speaking of getting lost, Apple also added new features to help you backtrack your steps. You can set this up as part of the action button and retrace your steps easily if you're venturing off into the woods. I tried this out in Central Park, and if you'd like to see that, you can also click up here. But there is one last feature that Apple added that is distinct only to the Apple Watch Ultra, and that is the action button. It's a whole new button on the left side of the watch, and you can configure it to do several things like immediately start a workout, set waypoints during a hike, or turn the display to a flashlight. It's a nice feature that only requires one click of the button. It's useful if your hands are sweaty or if you're even wearing gloves. Having the additional button allows you to start and pause workouts, for example, without having to touch the screen. I found myself using it much more than I anticipated, so this is definitely a welcome feature. But we still haven't answered the question, is this watch actually worth the $800? And I will tell you whether or not right now. My overall impression of the Ultra is that it is an excellent watch. It's well built and offers a bunch of new features for adventurers and explorers. It's also a great watch for me, even though I'm mainly on a computer all day. So should you spend the $800? Well, the short answer is, well, maybe. But hear me out before you turn off this video. I bought the Ultra because even though I spend the majority of my time at a computer, I do like to hit the gym, go on hikes, travel, and be out in nature. And the rugged design features like backtrack and waypoints were enough for me to consider getting it. Now that I've used it for a week, I will not be going back to the sports model. It feels like a toy watch compared to this one. And also remember that there is so much more to the Ultra that I haven't gotten into. There's a depth sensor for scuba diving, an altimeter for those trekking the mountains, and a breadth of other sensors available in the cheaper models that I haven't even gotten a chance to use. So is the extra $400 above a sports model worth it? Well, if you're like me, then a sports model is just fine. It'll do everything you want it to, but once you try an Ultra, it'll be hard to resist not wanting to pick one up. So what do you think? Is it worth it? Will you pick one up? Let me know down in the comments. Hope this helps, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.